Hey guys, how's it going? Preparing here. So I've been playing hardcore Diablo 3 for over a week now, and I've had quite a bit of success. I haven't died yet, and because I am using pretty much self-found gear, I'm using some gear that Krippy or some of the other people I play with that also do this find, but I think all but like two pieces are gear that I actually had uh, drop in my own game, and I was the one that picked it up. So. Um, pretty interesting stuff. It's kind of brought back the game a little bit for me. I mean, I really enjoy the incentive behind, if you want to get better gear, kill shit faster, kill shit, on a higher difficulty level, and that always hits the wall. It's like, hey, keep in mind it's hardcore. You don't want to do too much stupid shit. You don't want to lose your character because then you're gone. So I know a lot of you guys are still into Diablo, still curious about what's going on, and probably a lot of you guys have Barbarians. So, I want to share with you guys the build that I've used and how it's progressed, and the strengths and weaknesses, in case you guys are wanting to do the same thing, or maybe try a few different things on your Barb on softcore. So here we go. Most of the gear that I use, obviously I don't have much decision making in because I have to compare it to other stuff that I've had dropped in the game. I've been very lucky with certain drops like these legs, but in other cases, I've been not so lucky with certain other pieces that not really gone my way in terms of what I want in stats. But the basics, they're still there. You need quite a lot of resistances. I'm at just over 600, which is probably as low as I've been in a while, but my armor is higher than it has been in some time, so that kind of counterbalances that a little bit, not completely, but a little bit. My damage is pretty high for unbuffed damage, especially considering that I'm using a Scorn, and I only have 7% attack speed, so it's not really a very hasted Scorn, and because of that, that means my attacks that don't consider attack speed do a shitload of damage, like Rend, for instance. And as you can tell, I'm using a two-hander. I got a Scorn. This is the first legendary I got playing hardcore again, like over a week ago. And people are like, oh my god, Scorn! Must have got it from the auction house. It's like it's not like Scorns don't drop in the game. But I don't want people to get the misconception that ideally you want to use a one-handed weapon and a shield. Two-handed weapons, especially slow ones, have a very big weakness. For one, you don't have as much defense, and two, they're excessively slow. Now, slow is typically good for in terms of damage of like Rend and shit, because haste doesn't increase the damage of Rend, But the problem is in hardcore, if you're surrounded with a two-handed weapon and you're not deflecting, you're not blocking attacks, none of that shit, what can happen is you can become like stunned. You can literally be surrounded by mobs and nothing that you do actually works, and you're forced to use Wrath of Berserker, or you're forced to just spam your ability, spam charge, spam revenge or rend until it goes off, and that can get your character killed. If you're stuck and your actions are not going off, you don't have control over your character, you're vulnerable to the RNG of the game. That's not a position that you want to be in hardcore. So I do not recommend using a two-handed weapon. I recommend using a slow one-handed weapon. But slow one-handed weapon is like a 1.2. It's not a 1.0. And that 0.2 kind of makes the difference from my experience. And as well, a shield. And of course, if you use a shield, you can have a little bit less defense than otherwise with a two-handed weapon like I use. But I wouldn't play it that way, because in hardcore, chances are you're probably going to play on a very low difficulty setting. I play on MP0, and I still have brushes with death very often. At least once or twice a game. And hardcore, if you want to get high Paragon level, if you want to accumulate a good number of items, you need to have a lot of safety involved. While my character hasn't died yet, it's come close. I've been lucky in some cases with RNG, but in other cases you have to keep in mind, it's like, what if I disconnect at this point? And having a shield, having a few other things are going to really help you with that. And speaking of that, that's pretty much the reason why I use a Templar. I use a Templar because of Guardian. So Guardian does that heal with the AoE stun. So if I disconnect, you know, I have this to rely on. It's going to eat up some seconds, it's going to eat up some time. I have the other heal, and the reason I like the Templar over the Enchantress is that when it comes to very dangerous mobs in narrow corridors, the Templar does a great job of blocking them off, and I can just attack them behind the Templar, from behind the Templar, without them being able to attack me back. And you know, that pretty much just creates another barrier of safety that I really think I need for my character right now. Because, you know, I want to do this for a while. I don't want to die to a DC tomorrow, and if I do DC, I want to lower the chance of me you know, dying before my character exits the game. A few other things here with the specs. I want to discuss some of the skills that I use. I use a bash with Punish. Originally I was using Frenzy, but I was realizing that I wasn't really attacking very much. Most of the time I was just rending and running away. You know, just standing there using Frenzy was not really as effective as finding mobs that are easier to kill and rending them and not spending time single targeting. So that's a pretty big deal, and that's the reason why I use bash, because, you know, often I'd get 0 to 2, maybe 3 attacks in, and if you use Frenzy, for Frenzy to overcome bash, you have to, you know, keep those 5 stacks up. You have to have, you know, a high level of uptime on the buff. If you want to use Frenzy, that's fine, but I recommend it with a faster weapon, and if you do use Frenzy, you have to use Maniac, in my opinion, because most of your damage is still going to come from other sources rather than your primary single target attack. So it's Bash with Punish. It gives me 8% extra damage with all my other attacks, and it's a very good Fury generator. Sometime in the last patch or two, they made Bash baseline 8 Fury per attack as opposed to 6. You know, prior to this change, I probably would have used the rune that doubles the Fury generation, but seeing as it only gives you additional 4, I opted for this one instead. I use Charge. The reason I use Charge is I can use it to prevent myself from getting frozen. I can use it to move my character during Jailer, and it's a very nice heal when I need it. The control on this ability is very good, but with a 2-hand, you can get locked down, you can get stunned, and that can become a problem. So you know, you have to always keep in mind the risks involved in you know, using certain abilities. So pretty good. Possibly a better option with like Leap. I don't know what the delay is on that, but I can't imagine it's much worse than Charge. But using Charge, I like it. I just have to be very careful with it. Then I have Wrath of Berserker Insanity. Typically, I save Wrath of the Berserker. I try to use Furious Charge to maneuver around the zone as much as possible. But when I encounter a very dangerous mob, such as Arcane Horde, or certain other combos like Arcane Vortex, or just very hard-hitting mobs, in narrow corridors with Vortex or some shit like that. Just anything that looks very dangerous, I just pop Wrath the Berserker without thinking about it. And you know, mobs that are potentially dangerous, like maybe just Arcane and maybe they have Jailer, you know, I'll try to get away with using Furious Charge, and if I make a mistake or if I get in a bad spot, then I'll pop Insanity. So I just kind of use it as a backup, as a, you know, the last security measure. Usually when I pop Insanity, the mobs die incredibly fast. Then I have Rend. I use Rend with Ravage. It gives me the extra range. You may want to use the Rend with extra damage if your damage is not so good. If you're more of a tanky shield Barb, I can understand that because most of the mobs are going to be on you. But with my character, I'm more or less pretty squishy. So what I like to do, I just kite the mobs around. That's why I want the extra range. And using the extra range is going to allow me to attack mobs that run away from me, like Succubi and those fat shielding little fuckers that, you know, inhabit most of the Act 3 dungeons. Holy shit, those things are annoying. Occultists, I think they're called. In any case, you know, if you're using Rend and the mob is running away from you, most of the other runes besides Ravage are not going to hit the mob. That's why I like this. It kind of increases the efficiency and the speed at which you can clear. Some people also use Bloodlust. Bloodlust is the Rend that heals you from 9% of the damage done. However, the 9% is also affected by diminishing returns from Inferno, so you know, it's reduced by 80%. It's pretty good. You know, 9% is a shitload of lifesteal, so although it's nerfed, it's still very strong. The main concern with Bloodlust with this spec is that because your primary source of damage, using Bloodlust, you're probably going to have to be really under-geared to require the defensive benefit. For certain builds like Whirlwind or whatnot, Bloodlust is largely like a survivability mechanic, not really for the damage. There's much better runes for damage if that's what you need out of your character. Going on, I use Revenge. I use Provocation, of course. The reason I use Revenge is because Revenge has the extra bonus that it doesn't technically use up an attack, and this is especially prevalent with two-handed weapons. I made a video about Revenge. You can look at that in detail, but basically to summarize it, if you use like a bash and then the next frame you use Revenge, it'll do Bash Revenge regardless of your attack speed. And obviously, because that disregards your attack speed, it will favor a slower attack speed. And because Rend also favors a slower attack speed, it kind of allows me to build a character a certain way, and it correlates with, basically how I want to play a Barb. And then, of course, I have Warcry Impunity. Sometimes I play with Krippy, and when I play with Krippy, Krippy also plays a Barb. He drops Warcry, he gets mine, and instead he uses the pull-in stun. So the pull-in stun is also a very good ability instead of Warcry, but obviously if you're the only Barb there, I think this is kind of a no-brainer for hardcore. And the passives are pretty standard. I use the double armor passives. Yeah, there's potentially more use out of like Superstition, and that may actually be the better one to use, but I haven't experimented that much with it. Superstition gives you a little bit more fury, which allows you to play more aggressively when you need it, and more defensively when you don't need the aggression. So I actually like Superstition a lot. It's something I might try to play with in the future, but basically because my character's a two-hand, because my resists are pretty low, I try not to take away too many defensive passives. The reason I took Weapon Master instead of Superstition in this case, from having the defensive passive trifecta, is because my crit chance is inherently quite low. So you see here my crit chance is 38. It's gone up recently, but still that's not that high of a crit chance for having 420 crit damage. So it's pretty good stuff. The character works. It works great. When you pop Insanity and you crit a bleed, you can kill a boss in literally like 9 seconds. Even in the less than stellar gear that I have acquired over last couple of weeks. In any case, guys, hopefully you guys enjoy Diablo 3 as much as I have been lately, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.